everyone. Welcome to our third session, Introduction to Mahayana Buddhism and the Chinese Pure Land School. This Dharma sharing session. So I feel quite happy and honored to share the Dharma with you, and I hope that these sessions are beneficial in some way to your understanding of Mahayana Buddhism and Chinese Pure Land Buddhism. So let's do this prayer together, and put your palms together in the center of your heart, and you can read it with me or with your eyes closed. Homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, homage to all Buddhas and great Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions, homage to Amitabha Buddha. May all sentient beings in the worlds of the 10 directions be free from suffering and attain the perfect peace and happiness of Buddhahood. Namo Amituofo Buddha, Namo Amituofo. Okay, so dear friends, in the previous two sessions, we completed our overview of the story of Shakyamuni Buddha. Remember that this course or these Dharma sharing sessions are based on two books that I have written. Let's go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, an introduction to Pure Land Buddhism. And the other one is passages from the 5 Pure Land Sutras. Both books you can download for free in the links in the Google Drive of our group. If you cannot find it, I would be more than glad to share it with you. They are very easy to find and download. So in our previous sessions, we study, the basic story of Shakyamuni Buddha. Still, we haven't still properly studied the doctrines of general Mahayana Buddhism. We have just made a brief summary of the basic elements of Shakyamuni Buddha's life. How he was born, what happened exactly before he was born. When he got married, he abandoned his castle, and then he attained or pretended to attain enlightenment. He manifested his true identity as Shakyamuni Buddha. He was tempted by Mara, and he realized enlightenment. He preached the Dharma to gods, to celestial beings, to high-level bodhisattvas, to human beings, to arahats. He established the monastic community, the Vinaya. He also taught merchants or peoples from all walks of life. He taught everyone. He didn't make any distinctions between social classes. And, at that time in India, that was quite a revolutionary statement, no? Because, to this very day, there are still a lot of social tensions, no, in India. In the middle of the 21st century, we still have this struggle. But Shakyamuni Buddha didn't pay attention to this. He taught women, he taught poor people, rich people, because at the end of the day, according to his teaching, we all have Buddha nature. We are all equal. We all have the same potential to awaken to the same reality they awaken to, even to animals. No? So we studied many things. If you didn't attend to our previous sessions, you are welcome to watch them. Remember that each session is recorded and uploaded to YouTube, 2 or 3 days after the session. So. Last time we ended our last session with Shakyamuni Buddha's parinirvana, when he abandoned his physical body, but actually he's present in all world systems, and he's still preaching the Dharma to this day in many known and unknown ways. Yes, he's always near us preaching the Dharma, and he as all Buddhas in the universe, he will always continue with perfect bodhicitta, compassion, wisdom, preaching the Dharma in all galaxies, in all world systems. He's always present, and he's always leading beings towards Buddhahood, just like Amitabha Buddha, just like Padmasambhava, Avalokiteshvara, and all great Mahasattvas and great enlightened beings. Okay, so this is our beautiful picture from last class. So today, so this is like a summary, of Shakyamuni Buddha's life. Now today we will study, the basics of Mahayana Buddhism, a little bit of the Four Noble Truths, which is also part of the Sravakayana or Theravada school. Also a little bit of the Eightfold Noble Path. But even before that, I would like to make things a little bit more personal, because I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. And the foreword of the book, remember that these Dharma sessions are based on the book Let's Go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, an introduction to Pure Land Buddhism, which I highly recommend as an introduction. Jiawen and other Dharma friends have kindly helped me to write this book. So I think it's a proper and perhaps simple introduction to Pure Land Buddhism, but nevertheless, it's a very effective one, I think. I did my best. But even before the book, I wanted to tell you a little bit about myself. And I wanted to read, perhaps not all, but some parts of the foreword, if I may. So I will read to you, and perhaps I will complement. So the Buddha Dharma, the Buddhist teaching, could be compared to a great palace containing marvelous and countless treasures. This palace does not contain ordinary objects. The supramundane treasures are far more valuable than any glory that could be conceived by human imagination, as they point to the liberation from all mental hindrances and sufferings in life and the attainment of everlasting happiness and peace. So actually, this comparison is not made by me. Many Mahayana and Vajrayana masters have compared the Buddha Dharma to a great palace. Why? Because a palace has many rooms, has a lot of possibilities, and so the Buddha Dharma also has. It is said that it has 84,000 teachings. 84,000 is a symbolical number because it symbolizes totality. But it also it is quite funny because actually it could be so. It could be more than, I don't know, hundreds or at least several thousands, like literal Dharma doors. There are so many styles or ways to attain enlightenment according to one's karmic disposition, according to one's skills. But at the end of the day, the objective of the Buddha Dharma is the same: is to attain everlasting happiness and peace. And I don't say this lightly. And neither does Shakyamuni Buddha. He doesn't take these things lightly. Yes, he's really talking about a happiness, a peace that does not die, that is eternal, that is everything that samsara is not. It's the cycle of birth and death, as we will later explain. But remember that our objective in the Buddha Dharma, or the promise, the beautiful promise of the Buddha Dharma, is that it can lead us to an everlasting happiness, a true happiness that is beyond the constraints, beyond the limitations of space and time, beyond the limitations of our present bodies and minds as we understand them today. So please bear that in mind. So the Buddha Dharma, and I continue here, is not an abstract subject removed from our daily lives, but a path that leads to true happiness and peace beyond all the limitations in life. The Buddha spoke of a happiness and peace that are eternal and not transitory, like the joys and sorrows of mundane existence. So the joys and sorrows of mundane existence, I may add, are the usual things people suffer from, problems with, money, health, reputation, so many things. All of these sufferings that are caused by impermanence, by death, by limitations, by obsessions. If you really consider all the ways in which people can suffer in this world, natural disasters. Now we have a pandemic, which is actually not so uncommon in history. Yes, if you read the history of humankind only in the Western countries, you will realize that we have been pandemic after pandemic, and actually pandemic is like the daily bread in history. So Shakyamuni Buddha taught that all of these sufferings are not a mistake. It's not like it is like an accident. We are experiencing these things due to a very profound reason. Yes. And this is because our mind is also distorted. Our mind is resonating in the same energy or the same field with this world. So it's not like we are like totally innocent in this show, spectacle, let's say. So we will also study this. Okay, so we should pay attention to Shakyamuni Buddha's words and bear in mind that what he is talking about is not removed from our daily breath, our daily activities. He's pointing to our lives, to our relatives, to our loved ones, to ourselves, and to our innermost feelings and thoughts. So the Buddha's discourses speak about this path to true happiness and peace. I continue here in the text. These discourses are voluminous and profound. They cover a great variety of topics ranging from morality, psychology, to cosmology, meditation, and other contemplative practices. As I also said in previous sessions, when you say other religions or other philosophies, if you say, okay, if you're a Christian, you point to the Bible. If you are a Muslim, you point to the Quran. But if you are a Buddhist, you point to a whole library, because even the Chinese, the Taisho Tripitaka is like a whole section in a library. And actually, if you consider all the tantras and all of the shastras and great Buddhist books that are part of the canons, the Korean canon, Chinese canon, the Tibetan canon, Mongolian canon, you end up with thousands upon thousands of teachings. So it is actually almost physically challenging to read all the discourses of the Buddha. Like, this is literally so. So we must bear in mind that Shakyamuni Buddha left us with a wealth, this is why I compare this to a castle. He left us like such a noble and huge inheritance to us. So and the fact that we know how to read, how to read, yes, this is something that is not common in history, because as you remember, like most people, like almost like three centuries ago, they didn't know how to write, they didn't know how to read, and we have the sutras in our hands. We can access all of the Buddha's teachings, or almost all of them. Even if you speak English, you can access a great deal of teachings, just a click away. So imagine how fortunate we are. We're very fortunate, because not only do we have all of the Buddhist teachings, or almost all of them, guys, at the reach of our hands, but we also have the mental capacity to study them and to be proficient. Even if we are not so smart, we can still appreciate the Buddhist teaching. So you cannot imagine how, so this blessing, yes, it's such a blessing to be able to study the Buddhist teachings. You know, many people throughout history haven't had this opportunity, yes, to practice and to study at leisure, yes, and with some level of comfort. You know? So, as many others before me, I felt like a curious child entering this vast palace, the Buddha Dharma, and I just marveled at the noble and beautiful path, the Buddha Dharma. At first, I could not but feel happily bewildered by the outstanding clarity of the Buddhist teachings. I had struggled for many years in my life to find answers to life's toughest and most important questions: nature of life, death, the origin of the universe, morality, etc. They became so vivid in my mind that I could hardly think of anything else. That is why I decided to study philosophy as a career. I studied what the great minds of the Western culture had to say about these matters. And even if I found many interesting answers, something deep inside me felt these answers were not sufficient to quench my thirst for truth. So I actually studied philosophy, not, I think, due to a very personal reason. I think all people who study philosophy, deep down, they do it. I mean, we don't do it for the money, that's for sure. like of course, it's not like a money-making machine, but we do it for normally for very profound reasons or maybe for personal reasons. So I did it mainly because I was struggling, to find an answer to these questions, and I could hardly think of anything else. Yes, everything else seemed unimportant, like uneventful. So I say, okay, let's study philosophy because I need to get my mind around this. So I did, and I actually discovered, even if Western philosophy has many good things, yes, I discovered that there were these answers and these questions even they were very limited. When I studied Buddhism, I literally fell in love. I discovered that it was so clear, so crystal clear, like a laser, like a diamond. So I felt that I had arrived home. Yes. So as soon as I started to read the sutras, and I continue here with the text you see in the screen, the discourses of the Buddha and the many writings of the Buddhist masters from the past, I felt like a traveler who has crossed a deadly desert and stumbles upon an oasis at the end of his journey. I drank the nectar of the Buddhist teachings, and I confess I literally devoured hundreds of articles and dozens of books and documentaries in less than a year. So I'm kind of like an obsessive type. Yes, when I like something, it's like all or nothing. Like I decided to devour like thousands of books. I mean, not thousands, but like hundreds of articles, but many things I like consumed, yes, mentally. So yeah, I actually I think that I read more than I could handle. It's like when you eat more than you can actually digest. But in the end, it was very beneficial, and I think that my love for books like put me in a position to be of some service to others, because when you read a lot, you also make a lot of mistakes. Like you read things that you shouldn't have read, or you read things that are not so beneficial. So you can actually recommend to people what things they can read that are beneficial, yes, that are actually very clear, so that they don't commit the same mistakes. So maybe this obsession is not so ill-founded or not so impertinent. No? So all my long-for questions, I continue here, were thoroughly answered in the Buddha Dharma with exquisite accuracy and clarity. I realized that the Buddhist teaching was not like other spiritual paths or philosophies, but it was something special that should be placed in a completely different category. So you will have to take my word for it if you haven't studied Western philosophy, but I can tell you that if you study Western philosophy, you realize that no matter how sublime the systems of thought of, I don't know, like Hegel, Kant, Descartes, all of the great Western minds, or Aristotle or Plato, even if these systems are very lofty, yes, and interesting even, you kind of feel that this is the creation of a human intelligence. This is the creation of someone trying to struggle for an answer, yes. But when you read Buddhism, yes, and if you have read Buddhism, I think you will share the same experience. You will realize that what you read is not human. I mean, it's tailored for humans. It's very warm. It's very loving. It's very compassionate. But at the same time, you realize that it is not something that someone invented. Like, oh yeah, like nirvana, samsara, karma. No, these things are experiences. People actually experience this. And this is not something created by human minds, but by an enlightened mind. Yes, by an all-encompassing mind, by a mind that is actually free from the constraints and obstacles that we are subject to. Okay, so we must bear that in mind. This was my experience. Like when I read Buddhism, I immediately recognized that this was something that belonged to a completely different category. Yes. So this was my impression. So here I share with you, perhaps in a very fanciful way. This is the castle, no, of the Buddha Dharma. So I decided to choose this picture because, the Buddha Dharma is like a university or a castle that has many different sections. Yes, it's not like the Buddha Dharma. No, the Buddha Dharma has many things, many schools. Like this is Zen Buddhism, this is like Pure Land Buddhism, this is Yogacara, this is esoteric Buddhism. So, and it is all like a whole system. So the landscape of the Buddha Dharma when you encounter, it's like a symphony. So you enter and everything makes sense and everything is interconnected. Okay? It's so very beautiful, very lofty, and you recognize that this was not created by human hands, let's say. So I wanted to express this in this analogy using this beautiful art. So little by little, I realized that you could not travel this path, the Dharma path, the Buddhist path alone, but you needed assistance from a Sangha, the Buddhist community. And so my journey throughout many different Buddhist schools began. Buddhism has many different lineages and schools that focus on one particular aspect or method of the Buddha Dharma. So you could compare this to, I don't know, to a university. It has different faculties, yes? That they specialize in different things, but even they are part of the same institution. Okay, let's say. So if you enter this Buddha Dharma University, you realize there are many paths. You have the Pure Land School, you have Chan Buddhism, you have Theravada, and they all have their particular focus, a particular style. Yes. So we could compare this to several universities. Okay, each one possessing its own strengths and character. And I learned and practiced the Theravada school first. This was the first school that I practiced. I also learned about several Tibetan schools for some time, but I realized that I was not getting results from my practice and understanding. So I started to practice Theravada Buddhism, which is based on the Pali Canon, which is basic teachings about meditation, detachment, morality, discipline. But actually, I discovered that I suck at it. I say that like very vulgar, but yes, I discovered that I didn't have a bone of spiritual talent in my body. And I discovered that if I were to find answers in Buddhism, I shouldn't practice this complicated and this often demanding, spiritual paths that require decades of arduous practice, spiritual retreats, even becoming a monk or a nun, like not only, as a vocation, but as out of a necessity, because normally people who practice the schools, they discover that in order to be successful, in order to really reap the benefits of this practice, you actually need to abandon your life. Yes, it's not like Pure Land Buddhism, as we will later explain, that it can be practiced by, housewives, by grandmas, grandpas, even children, by fools, by wise people. Yes, everyone is invited. But actually, Theravada, Tibetan schools, even if they can be practiced by everyone, of course, they demand a lot of you. Yes, they demand a lot of time. Yes. And I discovered that you really needed not only a wish to study these paths, but also talent. A talent that I discovered the hard way, that I lacked, that I didn't have. So I continue. I compared myself with all the great Buddhist practitioners from the past, and I just thought that Buddhism was something tailored for superhumans, capable of noble deeds, but not for an ordinary person who cannot meditate for many hours and complete long spiritual retreats that challenge both body and mind. Buddhism, for me, was only about self-discipline, wisdom, and purification. At that time, this is what I thought. Yeah? So if you could not handle that, then it was your own fault. So I started to practice these paths, and I realized that my mind, perhaps I was a little clearer. Yes, I felt benefits, but I felt that something was missing. Yes, that for some reason, even if I felt that I advanced a little bit, I realized that it was not enough. And when you read the biographies of the great spiritual masters of the past, in the Theravada, for example, Ajahn Chah, or in Chan, Su Yun, Master Su Yun, Empty Cloud, when you read about Tsongkhapa, Milarepa, when you read about Huineng, the patriarchs of China, Thailand, Japan, Tibet, you realize that these masters, they were not kidding around. They were not like, oh yeah, take it easy. No, I mean, these guys, these masters, they practice in caves, yes, where even hawks and eagles refuse to go. Yes, I am not making this up. Yes, you can actually Google the biographies. This Bodhidharma, for example, he practiced in a cave for years, meditation, yes, without eating, sleeping for many days. So This is what is required, yes, to attain enlightenment. It's not like, oh yeah, take it easy, someday you'll magically become a Buddha, no? No, actually, if you want to practice the self-power schools, and what I mean by this is the schools are based on self-effort, yes, on self-purification, of do your things, do it yourself kind of thinking, no? Okay, you want enlightenment, there is a hard way, so do it. Let's go to a mountain, go to a monastery, practice, yes? Practice as if there was no tomorrow, yes? And this is actually the attitude you must have, yes? At least if you are serious about attaining enlightenment. Remember, yes, and this should be very clear by now, that enlightenment is not like, oh yeah, I feel good, like more peaceful and stuff. Yes, that is part of the path, of course, but that is not the end goal. What is the end game? The end game is to exit the cycle of reincarnation. The end game is to become an enlightened Buddha, yes, to become a highly enlightened being, to become eventually, and to attain an Uttara Samyak Sambodhi, which we will examine perhaps in future sessions. What does that mean? But by now, it should be clear that whatever that is, it is not something ordinary that you find around the corner. No, yes, even if this is our heart's nature, it is buried beneath many layers of kleshas, or many layers of spiritual obstructions or evil karma, as we will later study. So, if you are really serious about it, yes, you shouldn't take things lightly, yes, and I should actually practice, yes, the same way it was recommended by the great spiritual masters from the past. Okay, so this was my conception back then. I thought that if you failed at it, I'm so sorry, this is Buddhism for you. If you failed, it's because you suck. It's because you have no spiritual talent. So you should find yourself, I don't know, another path, or maybe find some other way. So this was my dilemma. So then I learned about Pure Land Buddhism, which is a particular Mahayana Buddhist school that is quite popular in Asia. I think it would be fair to say that it is the most popular school in China, in Japan, by far in Japan and China, in Vietnam. I think this school is practiced very widely by the millions in Asia. So even if it is the most widely practiced by population, it is not the most extended. I mean, Pure Land Buddhism is very well known in Asia, but in America, in Europe, is not so well known. Yes, it's very well known for Chinese people, for Vietnamese people, for maybe for Japanese as well. In Tibet, they also know about Amitabha Buddha, but it is not so well known in the West. Okay. But in fact, I learned that this is the most widely practiced school in China. I will read now the middle paragraph. It says, I became aware that Shakyamuni Buddha spoke of Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land of utmost bliss and peace many times in the sutras. So I started to practice Pure Land Buddhism with a heart filled with gratitude, as I realized that Buddhism was not only about wisdom and purification, but also about loving kindness and compassion. I started to see the Buddhas not only as teachers, but also as loving friends and mothers who make great efforts to take us to the liberation and happiness they themselves enjoy. So this is very important, because until that moment, I thought that Buddhism was just about self-power, just about you and making yourself, you put the Buddhist wisdom in practice in your life. So I was very philosophical minded. Yes, of course, I studied philosophy, but I was kind of very rational. Yes, and this is good in Buddhism. Buddhism has a lot of epistemological and logical treatises, of course, but it also has a lot of poetry. It is also about art. It is also about devotion. It's also about compassion and mystery and things that are beyond rationality. So the Shakyamuni Buddha, I discovered that he talked about the capacity that Buddhas have to emanate pure realms. So the same way that samsara, and this we will study today a little bit, is created by our evil karma, like a dream, yes. Pure lands are created by the positive and perfect minds and hearts of Buddhas. So these are the emanations of their compassion and wisdom. So these great realms are very beautiful, and by far the most beautiful Yes, and the most important Pure Land of them all is Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, of course. And Shakyamuni Buddha talked about about Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land in almost 300 sutras, no less, like 290 sutras. And many sutras mention Shakyamuni Buddha recommending us that if we are not sure where to go after death, we should definitely go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. And I discovered, to my surprise, that is what, I mean, until that moment, I thought, okay, so maybe, but I mean, of course, this is totally wrong, but this is what I thought. I thought, oh, maybe, so the Pure Land path is like an insurance. It's like, okay, if you failed, if you suck, then you can go to this place. Yes, it's like a plan B. This is what I thought. Of course, this is completely mistaken, because actually, Nagarjuna Bodhisattva, Vasubandhu, Tsongkhapa, and many great Buddhist masters, or were very, very accomplished masters, even geniuses, they were born in the Pure Land and they decided to go there. Yes, because they thought they didn't know enough. So imagine that. Geniuses, like, I mean, Nagarjuna, who can top Nagarjuna? He's like the founder of Mahayana Buddhism. Vasubandhu, he wrote like, I don't know, like 1,000 treatises, like a genius, and also like I think like a first Bhumi Bodhisattva, a high level being that is not a Buddha yet, but they are very close to enlightenment. And they also practice meditation. They were very accomplished meditators, commentators, and scholars. And they all decided to go to the Pure Land. So I say, oh, so it's not like a plan B. It's more like all Buddhists, Mahayana Buddhists and Vajrayana Buddhists are being born there. It's like our command center, let's say, for all Buddhists in the universe. So where to go? You go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, of course. In fact, there are millions of Pure Lands in the universe, as we will later learn. But Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land is like the capital, let's say. It's like the Rome, like the New York, let's say, of the center of the center. Okay, in the realms that are outside Samsara. But this is something for later. I mean, I haven't explained anything. I just wanted to get a taste. Yes, if you have of what is Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. So Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land is like this great academy where you can go after you abandon your physical body, and you can practice there to become a Buddha. So I was filled with joy, excitement. I was, oh yes, like I can finally practice the Buddha Dharma. And maybe if I cannot attain enlightenment in this life, it's no big deal. I can be born in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. After all, this is the manifestation of compassion and wisdom. Yes. So I was very excited. I also discovered that Pure Land Buddhism had different schools and lineages in different parts of Asia. So I also studied the Jodo-Shu and Jodo-Shinshu schools from Japan. I recommend a video that I think that our friend Jawen has uploaded, or she will definitely upload soon, today or tomorrow, about the different Pure Land lineages and why she chose the Chinese Pure Land Buddhism, because in fact there are many Pure Land lineages. In Japan alone, I think there are more than 20. It's not a Jodo-Shu, Jodo-Shinshu, there are so many. There's subdivisions even among them. So I also studied the Jodo-Shu and Jodo-Shinshu schools from Japan. I actually wanted to become a priest in Jodo-Shinshu, and I actually passed the exam and everything. I didn't become a priest there due to the reasons I will explain now. But I was very serious and determined to become a great teacher, or a good teacher to the best of my ability in Jodo-Shinshu. Yes, these schools are similar, of course. They also want to be born in the Pure Land, but they have some differences with Chinese Pure Land schools. Yes, because they sometimes emphasize one aspect of the teaching, or they simplify for the sake of sentient beings many teachings. But actually, I began to discover many gaps, many like voids, many things that were missing from this puzzle, yes, that I couldn't figure out. So I felt like a little bit like trapped. So I was like, So all these lineages like have advantages, and also they have flaws, I think, in the Japanese school. So maybe I am missing something. Yes. So then I realized that the Chinese Pure Land school was being practiced in China for more than 1,600 years. So I started to discover, the missing parts of the puzzle. Yes. So I later discovered that the source of the Pure Land lineages that reached Japan was to be found in China, where the Pure Land school had been already practiced several centuries before Japan by many admired Mahayana Buddhist masters, like Masters Hui Yuan, Shandao, Qi Yi. I became fascinated by the spiritual richness of the Chinese Pure Land school, which has been practiced in China for over 1600 years. So I was very like excited when I found out about Master Hui Yuan, who had practiced Pure Land Buddhism in the 4th century, many centuries before the Jodo Shinshu lineage, more like 6-7 centuries before. So imagine that. And also I discovered Shandao, Shi Yi, and also many great Mahayana masters who, even if they didn't belong formally to the Pure Land school, they also were great Pure Land practitioners, like Master Shi Yi, who was the founder of the Tian Tai school, which is a very comprehensive and very eclectical, Buddhist school in China. Which studies many sutras and shastras. But Master Shi Yi, the founder, was considered a genius. Yes, even an emanation of Shakyamuni Buddha himself. Yes, he was a great Pure Land practitioner, and he advocated and promoted people and recommended that we are born in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. Also, Master Hui Yuan, with 123 monks, who went to Mount Lu and founded Dongling Temple, the East Forest Monastery Temple, yes, in Mount Lu, and he practiced there, and he also attained birth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land with outstanding results. I mean, many people realized that Amitabha Buddha was not a myth or a symbol or a tale for little children, but actually he was a real Buddha, powerful Buddha, who is even more real than us, let's say. I mean, he's very powerful, and he has manifested himself in countless ways throughout the centuries. Yeah, so I discovered that Chinese Pure Land Buddhism had thousands upon thousands upon thousands of recorded cases of people who have been born in the Pure Land, even to this day. Like this week, I'm pretty sure this week there have been cases, or last week, or the week before, or today. Because in China, people still to this day, in the middle of the 21st century, people are still being born in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. They predict the exact time they are going to leave for the Pure Land. They have mastery over death and life. Amitabha Buddha is often manifested with great aromas, lights, visions that are witnessed by many. So Chinese Pure Land Buddhism is very much alive. Yes. Not only China, but of course, many people in Tibet, Japan have also had similar experiences. But the mother of all lineages is certainly, even if from a historical level, you cannot compete with that, is the Chinese school. Yes, because it's also the oldest one as well. No? I want to skip because I don't want to take much of your time in the foreword. But I thought it was necessary to talk a little bit about myself, as what was my path. No? Now that we have talked about Shakyamuni Buddha. In the last paragraph here, you say, I am not a Buddhist scholar or expert by any stretch of the imagination, but due to my fondness for Buddhist books and my background in philosophy, I felt in a position to be of some service to others by writing a simple book that summarizes the most important aspects of the Buddha Dharma and the Chinese Pure Land school in particular. So yes, I mean, I am not an expert. I am not even a teacher. I mean, I'm just your random, often kind of bewildered Western student of the Buddha Dharma. I'm doing my best. I'm only sharing with you some of the things that I have accrued, some of the knowledge that I have gained by reading, perhaps more than I should. I like to read a lot, but I also like I would like to share with you things that have considered beneficial. Perhaps you cannot, so you don't commit the same mistakes I did, and also for you to enjoy the wonders of Chinese Pure Land Buddhism, which has greatly enriched my life, and actually I have gained a lot of peace of mind, a lot of joy. I have found the answers I was looking for when I studied philosophy. So if I could travel in time, yes, like. If I could travel in time, this is Shakyamuni Buddha. This is Amitabha Buddha, the center. Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva, Mahastama Prapta. So if I could travel back in time and I could talk with my I don't know, like 17-year-old self who's studying philosophy, I would say, don't worry, you will find the answers you're looking for. The answers are in Pure Land Buddhism, the Chinese lineage. So just wait. Yes. So of course, this certainty that I have about this is something that I want to share. So maybe, perhaps, if you are looking for the same answers as I was looking, maybe for a good path for you that is tailored for you to gain the full benefit of Buddhism, which is to attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, to attain Buddhahood. Yes. Just in one lifetime, and then you go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, then maybe these classes, these Dharma sharing sessions, these are not classes because I am not a teacher at all, but just these Dharma sharing sessions, they could be of some benefit to you. And also this book, which is Let's Go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, maybe this can be beneficial for you. Okay. Okay. And then I finish with this. As the Buddha Dharma has so many lineages, schools, and texts, it could be quite overwhelming for some to grasp the basics, especially if they don't have too much time for studying and reading. So I am aware that many people, they don't like to read, or maybe they don't have time. Maybe, I don't know, you have 2 jobs. Maybe you have 3 children, house, a wife, a mortgage to pay, or whatever. Yes. So maybe you cannot read a lot. You don't have the time. You don't have this predisposition. That's okay. So I also wrote this book, yes, and also providing these sessions with that in mind, that many people, they don't have time, so they want something short, to the point. And this book, I think I did my best with Yawen and with all the good Lotus friends that helped me to write this book, and they provided recommendations. So I really hope it is of some benefit to you. I hope this simple and synthesized book can help the reader to understand the fundamental teachings of the Buddha and the importance of the Pure Land school, which is centered on Amitabha Buddha and his Pure Land of utmost bliss and peace. The heartfelt devotion for Amitabha Buddha is still felt strongly to this day, even to the point that there are far more Amitabha Buddha's statues and images than monuments for Shakyamuni Buddha in China and other parts of Asia. I mean, this is true. I mean, Amitabha Buddha is so famous that I think it's more famous than Shakyamuni Buddha. Yes, even people who are not Buddhists in China, I know this for a fact. People from China have told me this, like, oh yes, I know who is Amituofo. Who is Shakyamuni Buddha? I mean, of course, this is not to to make fun of, but the thing is that Amitabha Buddha is very important. Of course, Shakyamuni Buddha was the Buddha that taught us about Amitabha Buddha, so it's also quite important. All Buddhas are equally enlightened, but it is true to say that Amitabha Buddha is particularly important, yes, for China and for all beings in the universe, as we will later learn. Yes, why is this so? Yeah, so why is the Pure Land school such a big deal? So the Pure Land school is a big deal because it can be practiced by everyone, by housewives, children, grandmas, grandpas, monks, nuns, fools, and brilliant people alike. Everyone is invited, as all can say Namo Amituofo Buddha, Namo Amituofo, and seek the profound assistance of Amitabha Buddha in daily life. So may this book, in this case, may these sessions that we will start, of course, we have started with Shakyamuni Buddha study, but now we will actually study the content of the book. So may this book be a warm invitation to practice and learn about the Chinese Pure Land school. May all beings be free from suffering and attain Buddhahood. Okay? So, without further ado, let's try to actually study the content of the book. And I hope that this foreword, like, tells you something about myself, yes, and also maybe you can actually resonate with me, because of course we are not separated. Maybe my story is not so different from yours. Maybe you are also looking for answers. Maybe you were also in other lineages, and you are now looking at Chinese Pure Land Buddhism for answers. Okay, but before Chinese Pure Land Buddhism, of course, we need to learn what the Dharma is. Okay. And this is something, okay, this is a pictures of people in China, in Asia, practicing Pure Land Buddhism, okay? So, as you can see, people from all walks of life, Westerners, children, grandmas, everyone can practice Pure Land Buddhism. This is something that you cannot do in other lineages. Like, I don't know, I mean, for Chan Buddhism, for a child, I mean, really, it's really complicated to practice meditation. But everyone can open their mouths, say Amitabha Buddha, trust Amitabha Buddha, and wish to be born in his Pure Land. Okay? So it's a very simple path. I think it's very beneficial for people in the 21st century. If you don't have so much time, maybe you are stuck in a traffic jam, you can always practice Amitofo. You can always practice Nyamfo. Yes, this is something we will study. So I just wanted to give you a foretaste, like an appetizer, so you know what is Pure Land Buddhism and also the things we will study. So what did the Buddha teach? Okay, this is very important. Why? Because if we don't know the basics of Buddhism, of course, I am not saying that you should know all of this in order to attain birth in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, because there are many people who they only know about Amitofo and that's it. But they even these people who know about Amitabha Buddha in a very casual manner, or maybe they don't have so much knowledge about this, they still have some grasp. Yes, that maybe they are in samsara, in the cycle of reincarnation. If they don't nyamfu enough, maybe they will continue to suffer in the future. So even for the most basic understanding of the Buddha Dharma, you still need some teaching, some kind of, let's say, approach. No? And also, because we have the opportunity to practice Buddhism and to read the sutras, we are in a position of advantage. So we should use our advantages, the fact that we have the internet, the fact that we know how to read and write, and maybe studying will be beneficial for us. Yes? Especially if you are a Westerner like myself with many questions, with a lot of critical thinking, it's good to solve these doubts by studying. That's good. Okay. So what did the Buddha teach? Of course, the Buddha taught thousands of things, but maybe you could divide this into two. Okay. Perhaps this is kind of ridiculous, but this is good. I think we can divide the teachings into two sections. First, the problem. So the Buddha is like a doctor. Okay. So the doctor, what does the doctor do? First, he has a diagnosis. Yes. So he sees the patient and says, okay, this is the problem. So the problem for us, this is what we will start to study today, is the 6 realms in the cycle of reincarnation and the law of cause and effect. Okay? What does this mean? It means that we are trapped in a cycle of birth and death, and our minds are actually clouded by mental poisons. This is something that we will explain later, but this is like the diagnosis. Yes? And the objective of the Buddha Dharma is to reveal the Buddha nature within all sentient beings. This is like the answer to all the riddles. Yes, the fact that we can also become Buddhas. So we are trapped in this cycle, but we have this potential inside ourselves to become a Buddha, just like Shakyamuni and Amitabha. And the objective of the Buddha Dharma is to gradually lead us from this problem, from this sickness, let's say, to use the medical analogy of the 6 realms in the cycle of reincarnation, and the law of cause and effect, which is itself not bad, but as it turns out, if you are ignorant and if you don't know what you are dealing with inside samsara, then the law of cause and effect becomes your enemy. Because if you have these negative thoughts, yes, and you don't know you are trapped, then you will enter this cycle, this vicious cycle, as we will later study. So we should first start with the 6 realms in the cycle of reincarnation. Why? Because this is the world according to Shakyamuni Buddha. This is the world we inhabit as unenlightened beings, beings that have not yet awakened. This is like the dream world we are trapped in. Even if it is not real, according to the Buddha, it is still real to some extent, as it causes problems, it causes suffering. Yes. So we could compare this to a person who is having a nightmare. Yes. Even if the nightmare is not real, I mean the cold sweat and the suffering of the person is kind of real. Yes. Even if you see your best friend having a nightmare, yes, you say, oh, okay, that's not real. But the suffering of your friend, so you awaken compassion, you want to help him, even if if the thing that is making him suffer is not real, still the suffering is real. So the Buddhas acknowledge that even if samsara, this wheel of life and death, all of these realms of existence that we will study are not real, are actually the emanations of our own ignorance, they still make us suffer. So that is why Buddhas come, which are awakened beings who have awakened from this collective dream. They come from the realm of light, from the realm of absolute reality, and they come to this realm and they tell us, okay, that's okay. We come here to help you. You also have the potential to awaken, yes, because you also have a mind, and all minds can sleep or they can awake. You can awake as well, okay? So there is no problem. So we should bear this in mind, because there are many realms of existence that they could be quite scary, okay? But don't get paranoid about it, or don't fear, yes? Because ultimately, all in samsara is like a dream, and our true reality is the Buddha nature, as we will later study. So this cycle of reincarnation, before we study each realm, we should make it very clear that what makes this wheel turn are three things. This is represented by three animals. So do you see? What is this? It's like a hawk or a pig. This is a serpent, and this is a rooster. Yes, although it looks like a peacock, in my opinion, but okay. So greed is represented by the rooster. Anger is represented by the snake. And ignorance is represented by the hawk or the pig. Okay? So this is an artistic representation of samsara. And as you can see, there are some demons, yes, or some like people that are being dragged. And this is a representation of our inner demons. People being trapped by their own thoughts, going and then coming again. They get old. They repeat the same things again. And these are the masters trying to help us to exit samsara. These are Buddhist monks, yes, yogis. They are trying to tell us, hey, pay attention. You are in a cycle of birth and death, yes? So greed, anger, and ignorance are the fuel, let's say. So this is why these three animals are at the heart of the wheel of samsara. Sometimes people, they look at the representations of samsara and they miss the center. They say, oh, look at all of this. But what is the center? The center is this: greed, anger, and ignorance. Even if you are a god, even if you're a celestial being, a demon, a human, whatever, if you are in samsara, you have ignorance, anger, and greed. Okay? Greed, anger, and ignorance, the three poisons. These are the three poisons. Okay? This is another representation of samsara, and this is very beautiful because we have here Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha is represented in Tibetan in red. So this is samsara, this is the Pure Land. So we should go from samsara to the Pure Land. So Tibetans were very practical people. They have a lot of artistic representations, and they knew Amitabha Buddha could help them. So the fastest way out of samsara is to go to Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. This is recognized by all great Mahayana and Vajrayana lineages. I wanted to make that clear. And this is Shakyamuni Buddha pointing to Amitabha Buddha. He said, hey, people in samsara, look, this is Amitabha Buddha. Okay? Now, of course, this is only an artistic representation. We will later study this in detail. Just wanted to explain the image. So the Buddha taught in many sutras, the Buddhist teachings that were later put into written form, that samsara is the cycle of reincarnation, the cycle of birth and death, in which unenlightened beings, that means beings who are not awakened, that are not Buddhas, suffer and wander. So look at the 6 divisions below, and Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land on the top left. So the 6 divisions. These are the hell realms. These are the hungry ghost realms. This is the animal realm. This is the Asura realm. This is the human realm, and this is the celestial realm, as we will later study. Okay? But before that, before we study the 6 realms, I want to make something very clear before we end today's class. Yes? The Buddha taught that reality is created by our level of consciousness. So look at this. What is this? This is a galaxy or a universe inside a mind. What does it mean? Because I think this is a very good picture to reveal. Because according to Buddhism, the world does not create the mind. The mind creates the world. This is something that quantum physics is a modern cosmology is starting to acknowledge. Yes, actually many good scientists, like for example, Bohm, and also Schrödinger, and also many great scientists actually recognize that we were missing something about reality. Even Nobel Prize winners, yes, they realized that mind is not like this passive thing, like yes, matter or the world or evolution create the mind. Actually, it's the other way around. The Buddha said, no, the mind is what creates the universe. So the psychological creates the cosmological, and is a reflection of our minds. Okay? So the Buddha taught that reality is created by our level of consciousness. The world does not create the mind. Look at this. Our mind creates the world. So there is the natural law of cause and effect, the law of karma. So we shouldn't blame an all creator deity. Why does my life is not good? Why does it suck? Whatever. This is created by the law of karma. It's not random. Yes, it is created by your own level of consciousness. You are the creator of your own reality. So this gives you responsibility, but it also empowers you. It tells you that we are actually in charge of our lives. Yes, this is the message of the law of karma. Yes. So everything we think, everything we say, everything we do creates our own reality. Okay. Karma of mind, karma of speech, and karma of action. These are the three types of karma. Okay. Again, the law of cause and effect. So every cause, yes, every effect has a cause. Yes. So if we are in samsara, this is not like, oh yeah, like out of the blue. No, this has a cause. And what is the cause? The three mental poisons. If we have these three mental poisons, we will experience a world that is populated by the three mental poisons. Doesn't that, it's like logical, yes? If you have these thoughts yourself, yes, and if our minds create reality, if we are in a realm that is emanated by all these minds, yes, these collective minds that also have these thoughts, then we are in a collective dream in which we experience ignorance, greed, and hatred, okay? So the world is like a dream that is created by our own states of mind. This is very important teaching. Even before we enter into samsara, I want to explain this. Okay. So there is a profound relationship between the world sentient beings inhabit and their mental state. If you look around your room now, you say, okay, this is the world. But actually, this is not the world. This is the world as it is presented to our human consciousness in this present state. Okay. So again, you are not looking at at all the things there are outside your mind. No, you are actually looking at your own consciousness. Okay, this is what the Buddhas teach us, and the fact that we interact with animals, we interact with other sentient beings, is because we have karma that in common with them. Yes, so we inhabit a similar range of frequency. We could compare this to a radio. Okay, so for example, I am now talking to you, but now, as I speak, many waves carrying a lot of information, phone calls, salsa music, rock music, classical music are going through my body. Why cannot I hear them? Because I am not in tune with them. Okay, this is the reason. So this is like a radio. A radio has many wavelengths that it can catch, it can tune into, but if you tune the radio to a certain frequency, it would pick up that frequency. Yes. So reality is not fixed. It depends on the one who is looking. This is very important. This is why so many spiritual masters, once they have attained a certain level of meditation, suddenly it's like they can see angels. They can see many things that are invisible to common human eyes. So what you see is what your mind allows you to see. This is very important. Okay, so what we see, and I want to stress this over and over again so you can like really not only understand it on a theoretical level, but actually experience this. We are not looking at everything there is. Yes, this is why sometimes we see our cats and our dogs and it seems that they are like talking to a ghost. Yes, for example, I have a little cat and I know for a fact sometimes she sees some things that are not there. I know this for a fact. Yes. So I know she's experiencing another world altogether, different from the one I am experiencing. Of course, there are some similarities, but ultimately it depends on our level of consciousness. This is why the Buddhas experience a completely different world than the one we are calling the world, but it's also only the human world. Okay? So there is no supreme judge or creator deity, but the self-existing and natural law of cause and effect, karma. This is very important, okay? Yes, it's like this ball of metal creates a wave effect, okay? And everything we say, everything we think creates a reality. Actually, we can experience this in our daily lives. We don't have to go so far as to talk about the universe and stuff. We can experience this in our daily life. Depending on our mind state, let's say we are trapped in an elevator with another person. Depending on our minds, we can have a completely different experience. Even if we are in the same, I don't know, 4 by 4 meters, square meters. So we're in the same room, we can have very different experiences. Yes, we can be in the middle of the most luxurious resort, I don't know, in the Bahamas or in Hawaii. Yes, and we can be miserable. Yes. On the other hand, there are some Buddhist masters, yes, we have been in jail, yes, we have been tortured to death even, or have been, I don't know, like in a forsaken cave, yes, where even hawks and eagles refuse to go because they're so ugly, and they feel like you're in heaven. So the mind has infinite potential to change our experiences. So instead of looking happiness outside, we should look inside and look at our minds. So Buddhism tells us that the happiness we are looking for is not in a particular mental state, but in our minds as such. Okay? This is very important. So the Buddha taught there are countless world systems, and each world system is inhabited by various beings in different levels of consciousness. Each universe has its own particular karmic energy according to the minds of sentient beings. So the Buddha knew that there were countless world systems, countless universes, and all of these universes are they could be compared like bubbles, like different bubbles of experiences. And in these bubbles, there are many millions of minds having a particular experience based on collective karma. Okay, so universes are not created by a deity, but they are dreamt. They are dreamed, you know. So actually, in Buddhism, if you say, okay, who created the universe? It's not who created it, who dreamt it, like who emanated it through the power of their mind. And the culprit or the people who are responsible for this is not a single, but a multitude of consciousnesses are emanating the universe all at once. Okay, so this is a very profound teaching that you don't find in other philosophies or religions that tell you that the world blah blah blah. They tell you, okay, God made it so, or Allah, or this demon deity or whatever. They tell you like a story that is like the world is created like a machine. No, actually the world is a set. I mean, the way Buddhism explains the universe is very sophisticated, and it's also very that you can actually test this for yourself. Yes, when you have a different mind state, you are like in a completely different dimension altogether. Yes, so you can actually experience this in a microcosmic level. But imagine this in a macrocosmic level. We are having a millions of experiences, and these experiences are created by the mind. Yes, so we have a karmic force that binds a universe together. So karma is actually the mother of the universes. And in our case, since we live in samsara, unenlightened karma, let's say evil karma, is the mother of samsara. Why? Because of the three animals, remember? Greed, anger, and delusion. These are the three fathers of samsara. Okay? So, for now, we will stop for today. My dear friends, we have completed an hour. Then we have 20 minutes, maybe for discussions, maybe if Yahweh wants to add something, and also if our dear Lotus friends or students want to ask something or maybe share something, please, if you want to talk, you can just unmute yourself and we will listen to you.
Okay, Amituofo, Jiahuan. I think this is just such an excellent presentation. And I feel we do share similar journey, and also I trust so are other people, members in the Lotus family. We all share similar journey of exploring different paths and eventually, finally found our answer. And I think your presentation is superb. So I don't have anything to add. It's just a comment to really rejoice in your marriage and your work. And I think many people will be benefit by this presentation. And also when you said about, really struggling to gain enlightenment and all that, I also totally experienced the stage by myself. And I think I also shared before with some people in the family, is that there was at one stage, so a little bit similar to Jiahuan, but also a little bit different. So I was exploring all kinds of paths, like since the age of 25. So even before that, I started to thinking about, sort of deeper questions about the answer of life. Why are we here? And also knowing that we are more than just the physical, because I had a near-death experience and also different kinds of experiences that sort of led me onto the spiritual path at a much younger age. At the beginning, and I think some people might have heard of it, I also share on my YouTube video, but in this session like this, I felt I could, share a bit more than what I normally share. So in the beginning, I explore yoga, Hinduism, Tantra, Taoism, really all kinds of paths, you name it. I have also been to many countries to study with, the so-called famous spiritual masters and trying to look for, the answer of life. What is the purpose of our life? Why are we here? Quoting a famous quote, I found a Chan master, who am I before birth and who am I after death? So like a famous Chan phrase or sentence. And then after all this search of all these externalist teachings, so in Buddhism we call teachings that are not totally looking inside of yourself are called externalist teachings. And also teachings that are not Buddha Dharma are externalist teachings. And then finally, there came to a point, I realized just all of a sudden, I found this Diamond Sutra in my room, and I realized as soon as I read this Diamond Sutra, and I felt it was also because my karma was ripened at that time, like karma maturity in a way. And as soon as I read this Diamond Sutra, it just made sense to me. And I felt, okay, so Buddha Dharma is really, really the thing I've been looking for. And actually, it's not the first time I've encountered Buddha Dharma. Actually, now I realized, now when I look back on my journey, a very long time ago, at the beginning of my journey, of my spiritual journey, Buddha had always been there. Had always been there. But the funny thing is, and today I also talk with Jiahuan about my new video, which I have to still edit and add subtitles, and hopefully it will be up in 1 or 2 days. So about why there are so many different schools, and this can create a lot of confusions, especially for beginners. So I remember actually I encountered the Buddha Dharma but a long time ago, but it was Theravada Buddhism. And when I read the Theravada teachings, Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Paths, all this just made sense. It's very good for the mind. And then when they talk about the Buddha enter parinirvana, and then period, full stop. And that was where I had lots of questions around that. So where exactly did the Buddha go after parinirvana? So for Theravada teachings, you enter parinirvana and then you will never get born into the cycle of reincarnation. and then they don't tell you anything after that. So I had a lot of questions. So if you don't come back here, then where would you go? Do you sort of just disappear into the thin air, or do you kind of become inactive? Then what is the point of parinirvana? And what is the purpose of realizing Buddhahood? So I had so many questions when I first encountered Theravada Buddhism, and that did not sound appealing or interesting to me. Right? What is the purpose of Buddhahood? After parinirvana, it just sounds like an ordinary death to me in a way. So I did not understand that concept, and I did not find Buddhism attractive. That was only after I encountered Mahayana, then it also filled the puzzle. Like Zhao Han said, when he encountered Chinese Pure Land Buddhism, it filled your puzzle of the missing piece, maybe of other school. And this is the same to me. When I encountered Mahayana teachings, it felt the missing piece and all the questions I had.
Oh, yes. I mean, as Yawen said, yes, she also has a similar journey. I think for most Buddhists, especially in those in Western countries and also raised in Western cultures like Yawen, we normally we don't. It's not like we immediately, learn about Buddhism, but actually we have a long history of many mistakes we make, many religions. Actually, I also studied Christianity for some time, also Christian mysticism, esoteric books, many stuff, lots of stuff we encounter and make a lot of mistakes, and we are actually looking for answers. And if we study Buddhism, as Yawen says, it is also due to a karmic reason, no? Actually, when I encountered Buddhism, I also felt like even a feeling of nostalgia for some reason. And it's like perhaps it's only a feeling of mine, but I think maybe there is a profound reason for it. Yes, and I know for a fact people similar to Yawen or other Dharma friends also share a similar experience. Like even before they met Buddhism, they felt like they were like meant to, like destined, to put it in a poetic manner, to encounter Buddhism. It's like their mind was like ready, their mind was like ripe, and it has this disposition, this like openness to the Buddhist message. Yes, so this is something that also resonates with me. Many paths, many doors that I knocked. Yes, you feel like a pilgrim, no? Like you go to many temples, you have a vast path, no? And suddenly, when you encounter Buddhism, you say like, this is what I was looking for. Yeah, this is totally true for me. Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Namo Amituofo.